Now we talked about different kind of functions, return type, and which was this one having a return keyword, and non-return type, which was this one. By the way, in the return type, I cannot say return a b. We should say like return I only let's say one value. Okay, I hope that's clear. And we talked about let's say we call these kind of functions. We said return type functions should be inside the cout, and non-return type shouldn't be written inside a cout. It should be written separately. And we talked about built-in functions like to lower, to upper, and these were everything. Let's do something with these functions. I'm going to create a for loop, and I will say integer I equals to 0, I equals to smaller than 5, and I will put everything inside these for loops. So I'm able, what I mean is this, I'm able to behave with them just like normal statements whenever I need it. In which place I need it, I'm going to put them, and they are going to work properly according to that situation, just like a normal cout. But in fact, it's not one statement. It is more than one statement. You see that welcome 5 by, welcome 5 by, welcome 5 by. So 5 times it repeated for me. Okay, so let's analyze more on a very specific function. So it has a type, it has a name, it has, this one is known as parameter. Okay, this one is known as parameter or parameter list. So here I can say, I'm going to put asterisk and here like this. So this one is known as parameter list. And here is the body of our function. This one is the name of the function, and this one is the type of the function. So any function composed of type, name, parameter list, body. Okay, so four things. And inside the body, I can write any kind of stuff here. Okay, so what do I mean by parameter list? This thing, if you remember, when we were using, I'm going to just comment this. When we are using to lower, we are giving what? We are giving a text inside, let's say Ahmed. And I'm going to put it inside a cout and an inline. What we have here is the normal function, a normal function, built-in function. And we have this one, which is a string. Let's say if this is a one letter, I think if it is accepting one letter, or I will try the string as well, but I don't know if it is only a lower mixed one letter lower case or a string. We will try it right now. So this one is getting what? What's inside this? So it's a function, just like a normal function. It's been created, just like here. So this is to lower, it's just like the name of the calculation, but there is something inside here. I put something. So this one, this thing is known as parameter. So the to lower is having one parameter, is getting one value to change that value into something else. Okay? Let's run our program, and we may see it is 97, 97, 97, 97. Why is that? Because the A is What is the problem? It is changing it into 97. It make this one to lowercase, but uh, it made it like converted it into what do I mean? Converted it into what do they say? Into the into the number, into the computer numbers, let's say. Okay, and to upper is working the same. Control F5. To upper itself it is 65. So you see the numbers are different. Okay. So uh, here, okay, we commented this out. What does to upper and to lower basically here is doing? It should be like converting the character I have put it here into the let's say the numbers, the computer numbers the computer has. So what should I do? We should convert it into what did we, if you remember, we have talked about casting. I think we should do this first and then uh, let's say output it. So I'm going to say char, let's say alphabet equals to any alphabet. I'm just giving a name and I'm going to put it in order to convert it into char, and then I'm going to control X, oops, control X now, control C and control V. Okay, so I this one is converting A to 65, and that 65 is converted into char just right here because I'm saying the alpha is a char type, and this number will be converted into char directly, and I'm going to print the char. Okay, so this time we are able to see AAA in capital, and if I make this one to lower, then everything will be in lowercase. Okay, this wasn't our problem. In fact, our problem was that the two upper and the two lower function are having something here known as parameter. So whenever I wanted, I'm able also use in the not only there's not only, let's say, these parameters in built-in functions. We can where's the built-in? Yeah, we can use in the user-defined function. We can also have a parameter list. So I will say, let's say integer a, integer b, and then I'm going to delete this. And I will say a plus b, just like this. What do I mean here is that I'm saying this function I have created is having what do I say? Two parameters. So whenever I called that function, I should put two integers here, one of them, and here the other one. So I cannot call this time, I cannot call my function just like a normal way. You see, there's an error. What the error say is too few arguments in function call. So argument means the value which is put inside here. This one is known as parameter list. The place to put a value inside, and that value is known as argument. I hope it is clear. So when I'm coming here, I'm saying, let's say 5 and 6. So 5 and 6 are the arguments I'm giving. And here, when I'm declaring, when I'm initializing the function, we are saying, here is the parameter list. Here is parameter 1 and parameter 2. Well, if I say it needs argument 1 and argument 2, programmers will understand you, but it's always better to use the, let's say, the proper words for proper places. So this one is known as parameter 1 and parameter 2 for that function because it's during initialization of the function. during declaration of the function here. We don't have any value. But when I'm putting the value, each value is an argument I am giving to the function which is declared previously above. So right now, this 5 will be replaced over integer a, and this 6 will be replaced over integer b, and 5, 6 is what? Is 11. And I have calculation for 5, 6, and you see when I run my program, you may see that 11a, 11b, 11a, 11, no, not a, not b, and 11 for all. So this means that I give some value and this function did some process for me. So the processing of addition right now have been done by this function and I get benefit from it because I don't want to do let's say operation here. I just want to see, let's say I can, when I can see this program, I'm able to see, okay, calculation for 5 and 6 being done. Then there's a two lowercase, two lower for that alphabet, and I'm outing the alphabet. So it's clear when I see the calculation 5, 6, I go to the function and see here what's going on. So it is divide and conquer method. It's known as divide and conquer method. تا زیاتر دابەشیکەی زیاتر سەیتەراکەی لەسەری. Divide یەکەی and after dividing, let's say if you have a big thing, you are dividing into small pieces and you control each of the pieces. Okay? This can be done politically even as well. So this is a normal system or a way to control big things into smaller pieces and then controlling each of them. Okay, so it's known as divide and conquer method. Okay, so I'm going to delete this. Right now we had two parameters for this function. Right now I'm going to have one parameter, and that parameter I'm going to have a plus a times a times a. So whenever I put any argument here, what the calculation is doing, it's going to give me the cube number of that value. So whenever I run my program, you see I have 125, 125, 125, 5 times because it's inside the for loop. Okay, I want to give the I then. So, and I want to change this one to 1 until smaller or equal to than 5. So this was a changing thing. So the first time I is 1, and then it will go to that function inside integer I, it puts 1. 1 times 1 times 1 is 1. So it will print 1 first. Then I becomes 2. Then this function will call. Then the compiler will go there. Then sees it and it says return, okay, 2 times 2 times 2. It becomes what? It becomes 8 and then prints the 8 and end line. So it goes on like this. So 1, 8, 27, 64, 125. So this way I was able, like instead of writing the detail of something, I was able to use an outside function to do my job. And instead of that calculation, I can change the name. Let's say I'm going to say Q. And this one is Q. So this way, whenever I'm coming here, I'll say, okay, I is 1 to 5 include, and I get the cube number of that number, that changing, that variable. So I'm able to read the code more properly and it is more readable. Okay. Okay. Until now, we only have integer type. Let's have another type, which is float. And the float is what? And the float, let's say, average. And what does it get? It gets two numbers, integer A, not integer, we should say float A, and then float B. So it gets two float numbers. and inside the body, what does it do? It says float A plus B, and then divide by 2, and that's it. Return this. So it gets the average, basically, because it adds the A to B and then divides by 2, and it is the float. So that's it. Okay, so let us, what can we say? Okay, let's just comment this. Let's delete it. We don't need it. So right now, here's the average. We are working on this function. I have float number 1 equals to 10. Float number 2 equals to 100. Okay, so I have these two numbers. I will say the average. I put the average here, and I will say number 1 and comma number 2. And I should put it inside a cout and give an inline just to make it more readable. So this way I'm able to get the average of these two numbers by default. Like uh, all the operations are not happening here, and I created a function which is very nice, and I'm able to use it whenever I need for two numbers only. And it's not a must to have the same name here. We have used, let's say, float A, float B, but here I have used number 1 and number 2. It's not important at all. I can give a name here. This name is only seen or only counted inside this function and dies just right here. So that variable and that variable are dying after the parenthesis of this function is closed. So that's why if I either use A, or if I use just the same as this one, and I will say A and B, it's not a big deal, because this one is a new page. I can create a new variables. This variable is new, and this variable for this function is new as well. It's just like two neighbor houses. Both of them are having their son Muhammad. So Muhammad is not. It's only the only child in each of the houses. It's just the same. So float A means this house is having a variable, the name is A, and this house is having another variable, a variable name is A. So it's not a big deal, okay? But the case is I can also have a different variable, put it here inside the average. The important is it should be a number, and it should be a float number, okay? Very nice. Okay. Uh, okay, let's have another kind uh, of functions. I'm going to have a double function, and this one is a return type function. This time I'm going to do something different, maybe changing kilometer to um, or mile to kilometer. So mile to kilometer, and it gets a value, and it has the body. So I'm having some miles. I want to convert that mile into a kilometer. So what should it have? It has a double and let's say mile. I'm giving the name of this variable mile, and it will return something. So I will say, I'm going to say, well, let's say double. I will create a variable here, double result, I created a variable here, and result is equal to mile times or divide. Mile divide by 1.60, I think, or 609, something like this. And this is the result, and I'm going to return the result. So it is also possible I'm creating a variable inside the function and I'm returning the result. Returning the result doesn't mean that I'm returning the name of this variable, because there have been a calculation. So this result, either it is being returned directly this one, or returning the result, it means a value. It means some numbers. That's why it doesn't care about it. Either you have been creating a local variable or a variable here, or it's been normally you are giving directly the number into the return. Okay, so I'm going to uh, copy this and simply copy this one, and I'm going to change the name. This one is mile to kilometer. Yes, mile to kilometer. Each mile is, come on, how many kilometers? So you multiply by that one. So each 1 mile is that amount of a mile by 169 kilometers. Yeah. And I'm going to give a number, and the number should be double. So I will say, let's try if it is accepting a float. So I will write directly, it will directly accept a number, and it let's try if it is accepting number 1, which is a float number. I'm running the program, and what is that? Let's make this one commented. So I gave 10, and this one 10 should be multiplied by 169, which is it becomes like maybe 16, something like this. Control F5. Yeah, it gets 10. Why it is not doing anything? Okay, let's see. Number 1 is a float number. Okay, let's make this one a double. And Control F5, let's run the program again. Still, there is 10. What is the problem? So result, let's say double mile. It gets the mile. Okay, number 1 is double. And double equals to result. Result equals to the mile I have multiply by 160,609, and then returning the result. I don't think there's a problem here, and I don't see any problem. Mile to kilometer, number 1 is a double. Either writing the 0 or not doesn't change anything. Okay, let's make this one 100. And let's see the result. Okay. I'm going to run it again. Why is that? Let's change this one into 2. Control F5. And yes, it is working. So there's no problem. So maybe the problem is here. Okay. Okay. So the problem is 1 point. Yeah, we shouldn't put the comma here. It is a dot. Sorry for that. And when I run this again, it is 160.9. So if you are going let's say if your car is American, and if you are going on 60, let's say how many kilometers you are going per hour. So if you are going on 60, this means that you are going on 96.54. If you are going on 40, and let's say it is maybe 64. I didn't know that. So it is 64. It's more than 60. So pay attention to that in Erbil maybe. So this was a good way. We gave a meaningful name to it, and we didn't do, let's say, all these operations. I didn't put all these inside the main. I put all inside a function, and I called the function a meaningful name, and then I put a number, and that number is something, and that's it. And let me just try the float. It still remains in my head. Yes, it accepted it. So either you are it accepts either float or double, because both of them are having some points after it. So it accepts either if you are writing double, this means that you accept it totally. If we are having integer, will it be casted directly into the double? Still, it is being casted directly into the double. So either you are writing integer, double, or float, it will be casted. But here, if I have an integer and I say this one is 2 and this one is an integer, and I have a float number, so I'm just reversing the situation, right? Before it was double, this one is double, and this one is double, everything was double, and we were able to use integer, float, and double into, cast them into double directly. But I don't think this time it will accept the 80. It says there's no problem. Let's make this one double. So will it directly cast to an integer? Still, there's no problem. So it directly casts it to and put that number here. If I put it 40.9, will it happen? Still, there's no problem. So it will cast it directly. But it is always better to use proper variable types and proper, let's say, the function name and the type of the function should be proper to what we are going to insert. That's why we have different kind of function types. Let's say integer, float, double, string, and stuff. Okay, let's create a string function as well, and let's say the function name is days of week, and yeah, I can have. It doesn't need it. Why you should have days of the week? We can have an array of days of the week, and that's everything. Okay, fine. So we had different kind of functions right now, and we called these functions inside the main. Yeah. Right now, I want to call these functions inside each other. So I'm going to say, let's say, inside the mile to kilometer, I'm going to call welcome message. Just right here and put a semicolon here. So inside a function, an outside function, I'm calling another outside function. So here, when I'm calling mile to kilometer, the number, it will first say welcome, and then it will give me the result, which is something like this. So the program running, the compiling is happening like this. It will go to the main directly, the compiler, and sees a variable, the name is number1, sees another variable, type float, the value is 100, and sees the mile to kilometer. Directly, the cursor will come to mile to kilometer, and it sees the welcome message. it directly goes to the welcome message, the function of welcome message. Then welcome is printed, then returns to the mile to kilometer, and it has another variable which is result. Then the result will be calculated, then return it. Where it is returned into this place, okay? So it is being printed, and then the return, only the value here will be returned to here, and then in the main function it will be printed. So it is always very normal to call the functions inside each other. There's no problem with calling different functions inside each other and then calling that function inside the main function. Okay, so let me minimize these all, and I'm just this one as well. I'm going to minimize it. So you see, it's very obvious. I'm having farewell, welcome, cube, average functions, and I'm going to delete this. So I don't, if I even don't use any of them, I always have the functions. So I'm able to see the code, and whenever I want it, I will use just the name and give the parameter. Okay? Okay, let's now create another function. Let's say integer, let's say summation. Let's say not summation, sum means addition. From integer A to integer B, or start, I'm going to give start and end. So I gave two meaningful names. And in this function, what I'm doing is this. Any two numbers I will give to this function, like the starting number and the ending number, and this function will do the summation from the starting point into the ending point. So if I put, let's call the function first, I'm saying cout, and I put the function and the parameter list, I will say 1 and then 5, and I will give an end line. So what basically this doing, it will do the summation of 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5, and then return the value here. So how I can do something like this, I will use a for loop inside that function. I will say I equals to start, and I is smaller than end, and I plus plus. Okay, so the number I'm giving here, I put it right here. Okay, I can do other things like maybe something like start smaller than end, and then start plus plus, and then I will give an end line. So there may be no difference. We will try it. Let's try it directly. So I gave the start directly. I didn't put it here. And I said start smaller than, and I start plus plus. So what I will do, I will have a result and do all the summation, put all the summation into the result. So I will say integer result equals to 0, and I will say result plus equals to start, and I'm going to return the result directly. Okay, so let's see if it will be successful or not. 10, there's no problem. So either I'm writing directly the start, or I will write integer I equals to start. If it is nice to you, I mean, apply this way. I smaller than end, and I plus plus. And then I will say, instead of writing start, I will say I. Because I is directly the start, and the start is 1, and I smaller than end, and this should be smaller or equal to that end, because 5 is included. and I plus plus. The first time I is 1, then I becomes 2, then 3, then 4, then 5, and 5 is included. It becomes 15 because previously it was not included, and right now it is included. It is equals to 15. Okay, so we have used it right now. We have used it a for loop, or we can use a while loop inside that function, and I'm calling that function into the inside the main function.